Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Zacobia and I am many things to many people. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, but the reason why you probably are watching my channel, my video, is because I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I like to do content and videos in regards to information about breast cancer. And so welcome back. And if it's your first time, thank you for watching. Today, I wanted to touch on a subject that has been troubling me for a few weeks now. With everything that's going on with the new executive administration, President Trump's administration, and the budget cuts and mass firings and all that is going on with that. Like I said, it's just been troubling me lately. And so just wanted to kind of chat about it for a little bit and point out some things that, some people may not be aware of, and how this, how these changes, how these drastic changes are potentially going to affect us, and what it means, especially as a breast cancer survivor. One of the reasons I can come on and confidently, say in a video that, cancer today is not what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is because of the advancements in research and the advancements in healthcare and, everything, medication, everything that goes with a diagnosis like that. It is something that I tend to share with women who are diagnosed for the first time. It has become a thing that I tell them. It has become something that I tell them to reassure them that, everything's going to be okay, because it's not, a cancer diagnosis today is not what it was, years ago when your mom may have been diagnosed, or when your grandma may have been diagnosed. But leading back into the premise of this conversation is, I don't know moving forward if I can confidently say that with everything that's going on, and not knowing how the changes and the budget cuts and losing so many important people who work for the NIH, and universities being able to cut budgets to not be able to fund and support our scientists of the next generation. It's scary times. It's really scary times. For those of you who don't know what NIH is the National Institutes of Health, and they tend to fund about $48 billion of research, and it is the world's largest public funder of biomedical research. It supports, clinical trials. It supports advancements in healthcare from a research perspective, to be able to have new cures, a new cure on the market for some particular chronic disease. It's not just about cancer. It's about Alzheimer's research. It's about other chronic medical conditions, asthma, things like that. But of course, the cancer aspect of it is important to me because I'm a breast cancer survivor. And so if we just look at that side of it, about $8 billion go to cancer research every year. And so, any type of freeze, any type of, like I said, mass firing, or anything that, involves the National Institutes of Health, it's going to trickle down, and it's going to have an effect on, us, survivors, and those who have not been diagnosed yet, and what the future means for them. So with the new administration and things that rolled out in January when President Trump took office, we saw a lot of mass firings. It is reported that nearly 1,200 people have lost their job at the NIH, and that's just there at that federal agency alone. In addition to that, things have been frozen, trials have been put on hold, research has been put on hold. And every day we have, federal judges that are trying to help to unfreeze and unblock and, keep things going so that they don't have to, so that researchers, so that scientists don't have to pause all the efforts that they have so far in, whatever projects they have. So, I know that it's important to be able to audit, different departments and to see how funds are being spent and make sure that there's no wasteful spending. I get that. But again, we don't want to just like completely stop things, because this is our future. This is where you want your tax dollars to go. You want tax dollars to go to, a potential medication that can support you later on, years from now, for a diagnosis that you didn't anticipate receiving. That's where you want your tax dollars to go. No one has any control when it comes to health outcomes in terms of things that we may face, health challenges and things like that. One of the things I like to say about cancer is that cancer is a non-discriminatory thing that you'll deal with. Like, cancer is an equal opportunity offender, basically. Like, it doesn't care about how much money you have. And so, those who are very wealthy and in these elite positions that seem like they're on top of the world, cancer doesn't care about that. Doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care about any of the stuff that, people on a daily, normal day tend to focus on. Cancer does not care about any of that. And so when it comes to, our tax dollars and how they're being spent, we want to pour that money into research projects, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you, your mom, your sister, your child, or anyone close to you may deal with in the future. So trust me, again, this is where you want your tax dollars to go. In addition to funds being frozen, I have read how, basically some of the main important grant review meetings have been basically canceled. And unfortunately, when these grant proposal or grant review meetings are canceled, it means that grant isn't going to be released. That is a necessary step to be able to get approved for the funding for the grant for, whatever this, scientist is trying to discover, whatever this research project is. And so if they're not meeting to discuss these grant proposals, they're not happening. So that's a problem for us. I've also read that universities are losing billions of dollars, which means that they are sending out letters to our future scientists that were approved, that were accepted into grad programs or research programs, PhD programs to continue their studies. Again, our future scientists, the people we need to prevent diseases, to prevent these different things that, again, we don't know what we don't know, but they're not able to get into the programs. And a lot of our research and a lot of the studies are conducted on university grounds with professors and with our future scientists. And so when we hear that universities are losing billions of dollars because of the government wanting to cap the indirect expense when it comes to biomedical research, that's a big deal. The indirect expenses, I think they were ranging anywhere from maybe 50 to 60% or something like that of the budget. And now they're wanting to cap that at just 15%. And it may not seem like much, because it's like, oh, it's just indirect expenses. But the indirect expenses are what covers equipment to be able to do the job. Like, you can have this amazing grant approval, but if you don't have the approval for the indirect expenses, then how are you going to conduct the study? Unfortunately, the scientists aren't able to just do it by themselves. You have to have a whole team in place. You have, all these other people, which is more jobs for other people. But yeah, you have all these other people that are part of that research project. And so that's where the indirect cost comes from a lot of times. And like I said, equipment, facilities, everything else. So if you think about a drug, I received Keytruda, I'm sure, was an expensive project when you think about everything that it took to get to the point to where it was approved to be on the market as a standard treatment for a person now diagnosed with early stage triple negative breast cancer. It had to go through extensive trials and research, and there was a lot of people that were a part of that project to get it to where it is today. And so that's where a lot of the indirect funds go as well. So I know that, again, for those who are not really following what's going on or may not completely understand what's going on and how it may affect you, again, I challenge you to, read up on this stuff and, get a understanding of, what this means for our future, when it comes to our future scientists, our future cures, our future fight against diseases that are affecting, our loved ones. Again, these things don't care. Same thing with Alzheimer's. It doesn't care about how much money you have or anything like that. And so it affects all of us. And so I invite you to, just kind of educate yourself. Luckily, there was a judge, a U.S. district judge, Judge Kelly, that was a part of something major this week on Wednesday. It was my understanding that the judge was basically able to put in a preliminary injunction until all of this is decided on, that will allow universities to continue to carry out the research that they were working on. And so all those projects that kind of like put a pause on in January, as of Wednesday this week, they basically have the okay to continue those projects that they were working on indefinitely for right now. Again, though, that's not a final decision. It's just a temporary decision. And so there's a lot of work that's still going on behind the scenes, much I don't even know about myself or, truly understand. It's just that I want to support the work that's going on because I want universities, I want our future scientists, I want, those who are part of moving medicine forward. I want them to be able to have the tools that they need to do so. And you're going to want that too. We all want, again, we don't know what we don't know. And so though in those moments, as we carry on each day of our lives, those moments where you're faced with the unknown, someone receives an unforeseen diagnosis and, doctors are saying that all else, is done. It's nothing else they can do. They've done all that they can do. You want there to be a clinical trial that you get the opportunity to be a participant in that may have that life-saving measure for your loved one. Trust me, you want that. That's what clinical trials mean to all of us. And so without the research, without the proper funding for it, there are not going to be as many clinical trials available. And so you want these opportunities when it seems like all else has failed. You want these opportunities for those you love to be able to have another opportunity to possibly get a second chance. Going back to the medication I talked about earlier, I was able to talk with someone years ago. Well, not years ago. I was able to talk with someone while I was going through my cancer treatment journey, actually, that when I mentioned the immunotherapy medication that I was on, they remembered when it was in trial because their father was a participant in a clinical trial for that medication, and ultimately it helped save his life. And so again, this is what we want, guys. Like, we want our tax dollars to go towards moving medicine forward. I can't speak on everything else, but we want to be able to move medicine forward because we want to be able to say 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now that cancer, hopefully at that point, has a complete cure for it, and no one has to go through all the grueling side effects of some of the old treatments from the past and all of that. Like, we want to be able to confidently sit down in a meeting with a doctor and know that there is something, you have this, but don't worry because it's something that can treat it. You want that, and this is what it means. Any type of pause, any type of delay, it sets us further back. We want to continue to move forward. So again, I invite you guys to just read up and understand how these executive orders and how pauses and freeze and mass firings, how all of these things affect the future generation, our children and our grandchildren, and those we love. The more we educate ourselves, the more we can, put forth a fight in terms of being able to advocate for these things, advocate for research, advocate for science. We want it. We need it. All right. So that's all I have today. If you've been able to learn something that I haven't learned and, you would like to share, please drop that in the comment. I'd love to hear more about what's going on and just where things are headed. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, and continue to follow along the journey as I continue this this drive to educate those that may go through a breast cancer diagnosis. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.